over here. How you feeling, man?
Very good. Great to be here.
I always like how much you're smiling and you're always so happy.
Yeah,
What are you so happy about? What's your role? What do you do?
I'm a corporate innovation manager, and also I'm the co-founder of our newest vertical in Düsseldorf. So very happy about this.
Oh, that's what you invited me to, and I couldn't come. Now I remember, yes.
Me, yeah.
Excellent. I did not ghost you, I was busy. So, Düsseldorf, you're setting up something over there.
Yes.
I know there are so many different things that are pressing. I'm thinking about the war that's happening here in Europe. I'm thinking about energy prices going up. I'm thinking about supply chain problems. I'm thinking about the fact that we seem to have labor shortages. If you go to an airport or a train station, everyone seems to be struggling at so many levels. What is one of your most pressing issues? What do you care about?
One word, decarbonization.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
Sometimes we lose sight on that because we've got a planet that is in danger, and sometimes we can be so focused on, oh my gosh, we don't have security personnel at the airport, and now it's a 90-minute, and meanwhile the planet is falling apart. So decarbonization, is that what we're going to talk about here?
I very much hope so, and I'm super glad that we actually do have a panel about it.
Okay. So we're going to have a variety of people through the entire value chain on decarbonization joining us over here. So with that, Adrian, the stage is yours. Have fun.
Thank you so much. See you in a bit.
Yes.
Yes, also welcome from my side. It's great to see so many, all of you. And yes, decarbonization is a pressing topic, and I'm super, super hyped to be discussing this with our amazing panelists today, which is kind of a mixture of a decarbonization panel and a champions panel. So two things I really love. And I think with this, I would love to have Philipp from Mercedes, Alexander from Forvia, Marcel from Novelis, and Carla from CEEZER on stage. Give a round of applause. Woo! How are we all feeling? Good, 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 good. How's the microphone situation? All good there? That is good, yeah. I'm going to do a very, very quick round of introductions, and then, of course, we dive into it because, as we said, the topic is pressing. Super happy to have Carla in the round here. I hope you can hear me from here. Is it good? Can you understand me? Yes, 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 yes. Super happy to have her in the round. She has mentored numerous startups in the area of supply chain and decarbonization, and now she is the Chief Impact Officer of a carbon offsetting startup. You're going to tell a bit more about this in a bit, and really happy to have the startup perspective with you in the round, so welcome, Carla.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Next up, Philipp, our OEM representative, and of course, one of our oldest champions. Super happy to have you on stage. Of course, you have been in the automotive sphere very, very long. You have executed, initiated numerous pilot projects on the startup Autobahn, and that's why I love to hear your insights, especially in the area of sustainable projects. So welcome, Philipp, on the stage.
Thank you.
Next up, Alexander from Forvia. Super happy to have you as well. So you have a unique position in the value chain as a tier 1 supplier. So we're definitely going to talk about this, how you're handling the, let's say, the contact, the balancing between with the OEMs and the tier 2 suppliers. Super happy to have you here. Also a startup Autobahn champion. So welcome and give it up to Alexander.
Thank you.
Marcel, great to have you. I mean, when I think about Novelis and aluminum, I think it's a very hard to recycle industry, but I think you guys are doing a perfect job. So we are very, very happy to hear your insights on you actually accomplished all your sustainability initiatives in the area of circularity. So that's why I'm really, really happy to have you on stage. Marcel, great to have you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to the discussion.
Awesome. So I would say we kick right in with a question to Philipp, our longest and most experienced champion. And of course, we had a lot of sustainable projects in the last years. And I think you were quite an early pioneer and a pusher for these kind of sustainability projects. So could you elaborate a little bit, give a few examples on what you did in the course also of the Startup Autobahn partnership, and especially how you broke down barriers internally with stakeholders who maybe saw sustainability only as a trend?
Yeah, I'd love to share some insights here. I think the first myth I need to bust is there haven't been any barriers. Back in 2019, when we also announced the Ambition 2039 as the information that we as Mercedes-Benz want to be carbon neutral at that date, everybody in the company was really excited to start this really relevant journey. And we have been at the right time in the right spot when we introduced sustainability stream for Startup Autobahn, and when we introduced technologies in the field of production, of processes, logistics, transparency in the supply chain, but also when it comes to new materials in the car or carbon dioxide capturing, for example. All the colleagues, it was not the question why not, it was the question how can we make it happen? And so we experienced a lot of new projects, a lot of excitement, and in 2019, 20, I think around 20 projects have been started in the field, and everybody wanted to make it a successful journey. And this is very important because, incidentally, I'm looking right now at the EQXX 20 meters from here, and some of the projects, our colleagues here in the audience, or from the last programs, started in the field of sustainability. You can witness now in the EQXX. And EQXX, for those who don't know, is a springboard for serial implementation. So hopefully, and definitely for some of the technologies, we'll see them in our products and processes in the future. And when it comes to examples, I can highlight, for example, the Israeli startup UbiQ. Their vision, or actually their product, is that they transform household waste into upgraded plastic products or plastic parts, which we can then integrate in our luxury products. And this is not a compromise. This is the perfect quality part and also a perfect example of how we can live and make circularity happen in this field. And also projects around like using mushroom as an ingredient to also grow new parts is something we put a lot of attention at the very beginning, or to use cactus or cactus material also to build up parts is another crazy but very interesting and a successful project we've considered and then kicked off with the startup Autobahn help.
Sounds good. Yes, I really like to hear that you had the openness within Mercedes-Benz from the beginning. Maybe a question to you, Carla. I mean, you have worked with numerous sustainability startups. Did you have similar experiences? Were there also an openness with the customers of your startups as well?
Yeah, I mean, what we see is that the corporates themselves, they are really expertise. They are setting the broader strategy. They have the ideas and the vision. But then how can we as a startup contribute to that? It's really with being a specialized unit, jumping in, having all the digital infrastructure in place to support on one certain concrete topic. And this is actually also what we're doing at CEEZER. We're really helping companies on their decarbonization journey from measurement to reduction over to compensation, and really making transparent what it means to support a robust net zero strategy with high quality carbon credits.
Yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of advantages already mentioned to partner up with sustainability startups. And of course, we're also going to dive deeper into it a little bit later. But now, maybe coming back to the value chain, and for this I would have a question to Alexander. As already mentioned in the introduction, you do have let's say, a very unique role in the value chain, as you need to balance your, let's say, relations with the OEMs and of course also with your suppliers from the raw materials companies. What challenges, but also maybe opportunities do you see here in the area of decarbonization? Maybe you could elaborate here a little bit.
Yes, indeed, you can see it as a challenge being somehow squeezed between the OEMs, our customers. On the other side, having suppliers, raw material suppliers, which are typically much bigger than our company. These are huge suppliers, yeah, which we don't see in component supplier. And they have rather an interest in unifying their products, having a scale effect, and not necessarily adapting to the rather small niche market of automotive. Our customers are then specifying products, and this could be seen a challenge. But on the other side, it's also an opportunity because no one knows better the product itself than a tier one supplier. And in consequence, we can use this knowledge and rather develop material which is designed for the use in that product. And Forvia had started their sustainability roadmap proactively already more than 10 years ago. Beside natural fiber materials for compression molding, we also developed our own natural fiber for injection molding, naphthalene. Where we then had to produce and to industrialize the product, we had to work with agricultural collaboratives, so farmers, in order to set up a production facility to produce this compound, which is a 20% hemp fiber-based material. Other project we are working with ananas for pineapple fibers to be used. So this is on the raw material. But on the other side, it's also on recycling, and we have just signed an agreement with Veolia, who are the leading player in recycling, to also commonly develop compounds which can be used based on recycled material in automotive on a higher scale. We aim 30% of recycled components or material in 25, so a pretty huge step forward, and I think this is really a big challenge in the interior. So on the one side, it's this biomass, the other side is the recycling, and then the third topic is the carbon capture, and I think there we are entering a extremely challenging and sophisticated field where we need the support of partners and startups. Our Sustainable Material Division will have in their headquarters also a clean tech startup hotel. So we are fostering the collaboration with startups. We are bringing them into our environments in order to be much closer to them. And I think with that, we are really approaching our aim of being carbon neutral by 2045 for all scopes, including the use phase. But I think it's really this common collaboration which is needed.
Yeah.
And then I think when we look on the interior products, maybe the last step will be that we will have to treat the circularity, because today interior products are made to be stuck together. Yeah. We have great welding operations, everything, but I think we have to rethink to design the product for disassembly. We have to rethink technologies on joining in order to be able to disassemble the product afterwards, to recycle it at 100%, also the non-mono materials, in order to then really get to the circularity. And I think there are other industries which are much more advanced, I think, in aluminium industry. And I think there we have also to get in the interior.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a great transition also to the next question. You say Novelis is quite advanced here. I do think so too. You're quite a pioneer when it comes to circularity, even though you are involved in a very heavy industry. And of course, you're also working with a lot of partners there, so cooperation is also key. But could you maybe elaborate how you made the structure? How did it come to this, that you're such a pioneer in the industry right now?
Well, first of all, we serve different industries. Automotive industry is one industry, but there's also the beverage can industry, which is, probably the most prominent and known application for aluminum. And just to give you an example, in the beverage can industry, we recycle every year roughly 80 billion cans. And the typical life cycle from shelf to shelf in the aluminum can industry is 60 days. So it's a real example of circularity. That's how circularity could be if it's properly set up, if you have all the processes in place, and especially important if the whole value chain works together and make sure that it goes hand in hand. And I think this is also a little bit the challenge that we have in the automotive industry. In general, the production of primary aluminum is a very resource-intensive process. I guess we all know that, that's no secret. On the other hand, aluminum is infinitely often recyclable, which makes it an optimal material for circularity. And even more importantly, if you recycle it, you don't downgrade it. So the quality remains the same, the properties remain the same. So it's, again, perfect use case for full circular economy. Now, when you recycle aluminum, you actually need 95% less resources than what it would take if you start from scratch. So recycling aluminum is super efficient, and it's, sometimes we ask ourselves, why do we not more recycle aluminum? And this is a challenge in the automotive industry because we cannot do it ourselves. We have to be part of a network, and the whole network needs to work together. All the suppliers need to work together, the OEMs need to work together to really make sure that we can set up an ecosystem that allows for such a circular approach. It starts with the material suppliers, with the tier ones, but it's also a question of the OEMs, if they're willing to design cars, vehicles in a way that allows them to be dismantled, systematically brought back into the individual components that really allow a recycling concept. So that's why we all have to work together. I guess that's why we are here, part of the startup Autobahn as well. And this is also where startup companies can play an important role to support larger companies like ours to enter that journey, to come up with business models that makes it interesting for every player along the value chain to play its part, and to bring up new technologies that really enables that full circular approach.
Thank you very much, Marcel. And of course, thank you also for the advertisement, for the platform. I do very much agree that this is the perfect format to come also together along the value chain and to really partner up for a more circular supply chain there. And you already touched the topic on what startup collaboration or startups can also support in when it comes to cross-corporate collaboration. But maybe Carla, of course, you also as the expert, can you also dive a little bit deeper on how startups can maybe enable or facilitate a cross-corporate collaboration between large companies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, collaboration is key, especially when you go further down the value chain and when you have to collaborate also with your suppliers or customers. And this is, where startups are really powerful. To give you one example, and I already touched it, like what we're doing is we're making the carbon credits we buy transparent, and we're now working with a very big corporate from Munich together to make this transparent throughout the entire value chain. So we help actually align different targets, and this is also what you mentioned, which is, I mean, you are in the aluminium industry, and you say that aluminium, yes, can be recycled, but it has to be like the secondary material has to be traced, it has to be dismantled. I mean, all these different steps need specialized units, and this is actually where technology and startups can jump in and really help corporates to meet these challenges.
I do absolutely agree, and you already touched another very important here is also how to set up organizations, especially large organizations. Now we're going to come more in the interactive part also of the discussion here. Just asking in the round, what would be your best practices to set up organizations for this kind of sustainability startup collaboration, or for to achieve their, let's say, decarbonization goals faster in general? What tips can you give here?
So maybe I can take that. I think it has really to be a top-down and a cultural approach on sustainability, because it's a transversal topic. It affects logistics, it affects production, it affects the product itself. I mean, it affects how you produce. And definitely it needs to be top-down, but still at the same time pass really through the whole organization. And I think that is important. And when working now with the startups, I think the time is over in this critical topic that we invent on our own. Yeah, I think we need now this open innovation. I mean, and we have to stop thinking not invented here. And this needs to be fostered. This needs to be accepted through the whole company, because it's just the technology has too broad variety. It's developing too fast, and I think we really need the startups here to really accelerate this path. Yeah, and if you want to build competences, this will never work time-wise. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that you need a top-down direction to set like a path for the company. But on the other hand, I strongly believe that we are all incentivized and motivated ourselves, and if our colleagues have like space, budget, and trust from their management, something great will arise. But as you said, collaboration is key, and I think if an organization can make sure that it creates APIs, may it be Startup Autobahn, may it be you name it, to get like their colleagues in contact with relevant technology outside and give them everything that's relevant to try out new things, I think this is a perfect like launch pad for cool sustainability projects.
I do absolutely agree. Yes. And maybe then also coming back to Carla, what, like from your perspective, from your experiences with the startups that you have mentored, what kind of teams within corporates did your startups work in the best way with? What kind of structures did they have? Maybe you can elaborate here.
So the best teams are actually very diverse. So it makes a lot of sense to work with teams that are kind of come together from different departments and really understand the different challenges, because sustainability, whether it's decarbonization, circularity, or any other field within sustainability, is very often a interdisciplinary topic. And yeah, in our case, especially, we're working together with the purchasing departments, climate or sustainability departments, and then also accounting departments, right? Because there is always a financial implication. And I think it's very helpful if the people who are working directly with startups embrace technology, are open to different perspectives, and really jump into discussions and hear and try to integrate all the different points of view.
Yeah, I do absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And then maybe, I mean, we hear about many activities happening right now. I think we're currently in a great momentum as sustainability is also becoming more and more a really topic that is talked onto strategy. So there are more and more actually strategies established and also operative measurements taken. But maybe a question to you, Marcel, if you look from now, just in the next years, maybe in the next 5-10 years, where do you see this development going? What do you think are going to be the next phases? The next phases, like for the like, what is going to be with an outlook in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think is going to happen in the area of decarbonization, or how do you think Novelis will approach it?
I mean, what we see now more and more is that decarbonization changes from being a buzzword to becoming really a business enabler. And for instance, some of the OEMs we work with, they put a price tag on a ton of CO2, for instance. Yeah. And they include that in their internal calculation when it comes to material decisions, for instance. So all of a sudden, it's not just, pretending to be green, it's not just marketing, it really becomes a business critical factor. And I think that's the right way to do it. And we have to be able to support that. And this, for instance, requires us as suppliers to be able to provide, for instance, reliable CO2 footprint figures to our customers, so that there is a way that the customer can properly account for the CO2 footprint that he receives from his suppliers, can include that in his LCA, and then based on that, basically perform his internal work. So having a closed chain from the very beginning of the input of the raw material till all the way to the finished product, and then even beyond to actually get that circularity going. Having this chain and having the possibility to transfer that information in a reliable and certified way, I think that's very much key in the next couple of years.
I do absolutely see it. And maybe question also there to Carla with regards to carbon offsetting. As we know, you're also an expert there. So what do you think which role will carbon offsetting have in the next 5 to 10 years if you're doing the outlook?
And quite frankly, so I had a couple of discussions out here, and I can see that, and I come from CDP, so that the carbon market or the voluntary carbon market has a bit of a negative image. And I think what will, where it will develop is towards a direction where quality is the main differentiator, and where people become more and more aware of what quality of a carbon credit really means. And this, for instance, and this is just one quality indicator, is buying more removal credits instead of avoidance. So really helping and supporting the development of a whole industry, carbon removal industry, to develop technologies that help to pull carbon from the atmosphere. And this is crucial to reach our net zero or even zero targets going forward, right? Because there will be residual emissions, there will be emissions that have to be compensated for. And then if you really invest in the right carbon credits, I think it makes a big difference, and it will help us to align with the Paris Agreement.
I absolutely agree. And Alexander, you were nodding quite heavily there, so I do. What do you think about it?
I think that is what I said before. I mean, the first 2 steps are probably use of renewable material. Then the second step is recycling, and then we have really to, which is the biggest challenge, to capture the carbon on an economical, attractive way. I mean, somehow also the resources are limited, and also, I mean, it still needs to be affordable somehow. And I think, therefore, this is, I think, the real challenge then doing the next big step. And for me, the next 5 years are probably more on the on the first two topics, or a little bit more. I mean, there we capture more benefits out of that, but we have to work on the third one in order to be ready that once the others are exhausted somehow, or we have done everything, that we have then the carbon capture on a feasible, ecological and economical feasible approach.
That's good. I mean, it's a good thing that carbon capturing will be definitely one of the most important topics also on the Startup Autobahn next year, so we are approaching this heavily. And I think with this, I say thank you very much to this amazing panel round. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Thank you very much for the insights. And yeah, let's keep decarbonizing together and let's do this. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you.